All right, so you're getting ready for a lumber grader interview.
That's awesome.
That's super exciting. We've got a whole bunch of resources from RoleCatcher to help you totally crush it.
Oh, yeah.
And we think of this deep dive as like your secret weapon, a shortcut to feeling prepared and confident going into that interview.
I love that.
Yeah.
What's really cool is that RoleCatcher really goes beyond just like generic advice, right?
Right.
It actually like dives into the specifics of the lumber grading role, gives you some real world insights, and then even uses AI to help you tailor your answers to the specific job.
I know. It's like having a personalized coach in your pocket.
It is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's jump in. We'll tackle some of those interview questions that you might be a little nervous about.
Okay.
Sprinkle in some of the expert tips that are in RoleCatcher's career guides,
Love it.
and then show you how their AI can give you that real edge.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Let's start with a question that often kind of trips people up. And I think it's because they think it's simple,
Yeah.
but it's actually
A really important question, and that is, why are you interested in a career as a lumber grader?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, it might seem basic, right?
Yeah.
But it's really your chance to showcase like your genuine passion for this field.
Totally.
What sparked your interest? Like, why lumber grading of all things?
So it's not enough to just say, like, I like working with wood.
No. You got to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
Did you grow up, around lumber yards? Were you always fascinated by the process of turning raw timber into, something useful? Did a specific woodworking project inspire you? I think finding that personal connection and then letting your enthusiasm shine through is what's key with this question.
I love that. And it's like, it's your story,
It is.
It's the why behind your passion.
Yeah.
And what's cool, too, is that RoleCatcher's AI actually will analyze job descriptions and suggest keywords that you can weave into your answers.
Oh, that's so smart. So if a job posting specifically mentions like quality control or attention to detail, you can make sure to sprinkle those into your response.
It's like a secret decoder ring for the job description.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to another really common question.
Okay.
Tell me about your experience in grading lumber. So this is your time to really shine a spotlight on those skills and knowledge that you've gained, whether it's through, formal training or experience.
So don't just say, I've graded lumber before.
No.
Get specific.
Exactly. Talk about the types of wood that you've worked with, specific grading system that you've used, like the NHLA rules, and any unique challenges that you've had to overcome.
I like that.
Yeah, think about projects where your grading skills made a real difference. Think back to a time when you had to make a tough call and your knowledge really helped you make the right decision.
Okay, now what if someone is just starting out and they don't have a ton of direct experience yet?
Right.
What do you recommend?
So RoleCatcher actually emphasizes the importance of hands-on experience in their career guide. And this is true even if it's entry level.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so even think about, helping a family member with a woodworking project, maybe volunteering at a local sawmill, can demonstrate your initiative and your willingness to learn.
Okay.
Any experience that shows you understand how wood behaves, how it's used, can be valuable.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. How do you ensure consistent and accurate lumber grading?
Ooh, good one.
This one seems like it's really all about like showcasing your process and like really highlighting your commitment to quality.
You got it. The interviewer wants to know that you have like a systematic approach, that you understand how important consistency is in this role.
Right.
So walk them through your typical process.
Okay.
What are the key things you look for? What tools do you use? How do you double check your work?
So for example, you could talk about like visually inspecting each board, using a moisture meter, carefully measuring the dimensions. All of those steps.
All of those steps highlight your attention to detail, your understanding of those grading rules.
Right.
And don't be afraid to even mention techniques that you use to stay focused and avoid errors, especially when you're dealing with repetitive tasks.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, RoleCatcher's AI feedback can actually help you identify and highlight those key skills in your answers.
Oh, that's helpful. It's like having a second pair of eyes on your responses, just making sure you're hitting those key points.
Exactly.
Okay, here's one that might be a little bit trickier.
Okay.
How do you handle discrepancies or disputes regarding lumber grades?
Ooh, this is a good one.
Yeah.
This question is all about your conflict resolution skills.
Okay.
Remember, you're going to be dealing with suppliers, customers, colleagues, people who might have different opinions about a particular piece of lumber.
Right.
So the interviewer wants to see that you can handle these situations professionally and fairly.
So stay calm, focus on finding a solution.
Exactly. Talk about your communication skills, right? Your ability to clearly explain your grading decisions and also your willingness to listen to other perspectives.
That's important.
Yeah, and highlight your knowledge of industry standards like those from the National Hardwood Lumber Association and how you use those to really back up your
Okay,
assessments.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
It shows that you're not just like making arbitrary calls, but that you're really basing it on, established guidelines.
Exactly.
Okay, here's one that I think is super important, especially in an industry like this.
Okay.
How do you prioritize safety when grading lumber?
Yes. Safety should always be top of mind. Sawmills, lumber yards can be hazardous environments.
For sure.
So the interviewer wants to see that you take safety protocols seriously and you understand the risks.
So what kind of things should you highlight in your answer?
Definitely mention specific safety procedures that you follow, like wearing the right gear, using equipment properly, maintaining a clean and organized work area.
Uh-huh.
Talk about any safety training that you've received and your proactive approach to really preventing hazards.
I bet mentioning those things will really impress the interviewer because it shows that you're not just thinking about getting the job done, but doing it safely and responsibly.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit and talk about another common question.
Okay.
How do you stay up to date on industry trends and changes in grading rules?
Ooh, I love this one.
Yeah.
Because this question is really all about showing you're a lifelong learner,
Right.
that you're committed to staying ahead of the curve because the lumber industry is constantly evolving. There are new technologies, updated grading rules, emerging sustainability practices. So how can you demonstrate that you are on top of these changes?
Yeah. What do you recommend?
So mention any industry publications or websites that you follow, maybe the NHLA's website or trade journals associations that you belong to, conferences you've attended.
Oh, okay.
Highlight any continuing education courses or certifications that you've pursued, to really enhance your knowledge.
Yeah. That's great advice because it really shows that you're not content with just knowing the basics,
Yeah.
but that you're really actively seeking out ways to expand your expertise.
Exactly.
Now, RoleCatcher actually has a really cool section in their career guide on career stages for lumber graders.
Oh, cool.
And it actually shows how your responsibilities and your required knowledge might change as you progress in your career.
Oh, that's a fantastic resource
Yeah.
because it can help you think long term,
Yeah.
and really demonstrate to the interviewer that you're not just looking for a job.
Right.
You're interested in building a career in
But
this field.
Okay, let's tackle one more interview question for this section.
All right, let's do it.
How do you prioritize your grading workload when you're dealing with tight deadlines?
Ooh, good. Time management
Time management is crucial.
is key in any job, but especially in a fast-paced environment like a sawmill or lumber yard.
Right.
The interviewer wants to know that you can handle that pressure, that you can meet those deadlines and still maintain that accuracy in your grading.
So what's the best way to approach this question?
Share your specific methods for staying organized and prioritizing your tasks.
Okay.
Do you use a to-do list, a project management app? Talk about how you break down those large projects into smaller chunks, how you manage your time effectively without sacrificing that quality.
And don't be afraid to also highlight your ability to work independently and take initiative right.
Exactly. Lumber graders often work independently.
Yeah.
So showcasing those self-management skills is key.
Okay, let's move on to a question that really digs into your technical knowledge.
All right.
Can you describe a time when you had to make a difficult grading decision?
Oh, this is a good one.
This one sounds like it's all about your problem-solving skills and showing that you can make tough calls under pressure.
You got it. The interviewer wants to hear about a situation where you had to carefully consider those different factors. Maybe a knot was really close to the edge of the board, or a piece of lumber had some unusual characteristics. Right.
And ultimately, you had to make a judgment call.
So how can you answer this effectively?
Choose a specific example from your experience,
What's
even
that?
if it seems relatively minor.
Right.
The key is to walk the interviewer through your thought process.
Okay.
What were the specific challenges? What factors did you have to consider? Did you consult any resources like the NHLA grading rules? And how did you justify your decision?
Yeah.
Right. Explaining that reasoning really demonstrates your critical thinking skills
Totally.
and your commitment to making informed, well-founded decisions.
Okay, now for a question that might seem straightforward but can actually reveal a lot about your approach to the job.
Okay.
How do you ensure the quality of the lumber you are grading?
Ooh, I love this question
Yeah.
because it's another opportunity to really highlight that meticulous nature, your understanding of those industry standards.
Uh-huh.
So walk the interviewer through your inspection process in detail.
Yep.
What are the specific things that you're looking for in each piece of lumber? So like, checking for knots, splits wane,
Yes.
measuring dimensions, assessing that overall grain pattern.
Exactly. And don't forget to mention the tools that you use,
Right.
like a moisture meter to ensure that the lumber meets those quality standards.
Uh-huh.
You can even give an example of how you've identified a subtle defect that others might have missed,
Yeah.
really demonstrating that keen eye for detail.
RoleCatcher's AI can be really helpful here too.
Yes.
It can actually analyze your answers
Yes.
and suggest improvements, making sure that you're hitting all the key points and showcasing your expertise effectively.
It's like having a personalized editor for your interview responses.
I love it.
All right, so let's move on to a question that can be a bit tricky.
Okay.
How do you handle repetitive or monotonous grading tasks?
Oh, yeah.
Let's be honest, inspecting lumber can involve a lot of repetition.
It can?
The interviewer wants to know that you can stay focused.
Yeah.
You can maintain that attention to detail even when the work gets tedious.
Right.
So it's important to be honest. Yep. Uh-huh.
But also to frame your answer positively.
Right.
Instead of saying, I get bored easily, focus on your strategies for staying engaged and maintaining accuracy.
Okay.
So do you break down your workload into smaller segments? Do you use mental exercises to stay sharp?
Mm-hmm.
Do you listen to music or podcasts while you work?
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah. Find what works for you.
Right.
But highlight those strategies.
Yeah.
It shows that you're aware of the potential challenges, but that you've developed effective ways to overcome them.
Now for our final question in this section.
Okay, hit me.
What are your salary expectations for this lumber grader position?
The salary question.
I know.
This one could be tricky, but again, RoleCatcher has your back.
Yeah.
They have some fantastic resources that can help.
Yeah.
They provide salary data based on your experience level, your location, other factors that will give you a realistic range to work with.
So do your research beforehand
Yes.
and come prepared with a specific number or range that you feel comfortable with. Exactly.
Don't be afraid to negotiate, but also be realistic
Yes.
and demonstrate that you understand the market value for this position.
Great advice.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, exploring some of those common lumber grader interview questions
Yeah, we did.
and how to approach them effectively.
I sure did.
But there's still more to uncover.
Oh, yeah.
In the next part of our deep dive, we'll actually delve into those practical aspects of the job, drawing insights from RoleCatcher's career guides.
I can't wait.
We'll explore the tools and techniques, use the different types of wood and their characteristics, and of course the importance of safety in the workplace.
Awesome. I'll see you there. Welcome back.
So we just navigated like some of those tough interview questions,
Yeah, we did.
but now let's kind of like shift gears
Okay.
and really dive into the hands-on world of lumber grading.
I love it.
So imagine you've nailed that interview.
All right.
You're ready to go.
What's next?
So you'll probably find yourself in a bustling sawmill.
Lumberyard distribution center. It's really a sensory experience.
I bet.
The aroma of fresh cut wood, the whir of machinery,
Yeah.
the camaraderie of the team. You'll be working alongside sawyers, mill workers, other graders, all focused on transforming that raw timber into usable lumber.
That sounds pretty cool.
It is.
RoleCatcher's career guide emphasizes that it can be like physically demanding though.
Oh, for sure.
So what are some of those physical aspects that people should be prepared for?
You'll be on your feet for most of the day inspecting and sorting that lumber.
Okay.
Think lifting, moving, maneuvering heavy planks.
Wow.
Good eyesight is crucial for spotting those subtle defects, and keen hearing can actually help you assess the wood's quality.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes you can hear those internal checks or cracks.
Wow. So all your senses are really engaged.
Yeah.
It's not just a visual inspection.
It's not just visual, no.
Okay, cool.
So,
What about the tools of the trade?
okay.
What kind of equipment does a lumber grader use?
So one of your essential tools is going to be a moisture meter. Okay.
And this measures the moisture content of the wood, which is crucial because that moisture affects the wood's strength, its stability,
Okay.
its susceptibility to decay.
Got it.
You'll also be using various measuring tools like calipers, rulers, tape measures to assess the dimensions of the lumber and make sure it meets those specific size requirements.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, and those grading stamps you see on lumber.
Yes.
Those always look like a secret code to me.
They are kind of like a shorthand language that tells you everything you need to know about the quality and the grade of that lumber.
Okay.
So the stamps will indicate the species of wood, the grading agency that certified it, the moisture content at the time of grading,
Yeah.
and then the specific grade that it received.
So it's a quick way for everyone in the industry to understand the quality of that piece of lumber.
Exactly.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a whole system for grading lumber.
There is.
It sounds pretty complex.
It is. There are different rules and standards for different types of wood and their intended uses.
Okay. So in North America, the most common grading agency is the National Hardwood Lumber Association, or
Yeah.
NHLA.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, and they have this set of standardized rules that lumber graders use to assess the hardwood lumber.
So if you're prepping for an interview, you should definitely brush up on those NHLA rules.
Yes, absolutely. Understanding those rules will show your knowledge and commitment to those professional standards.
Okay, good tip.
All right. So let's talk about some of the key factors that determine a piece of lumber's grade.
Okay, let's do it.
So what are you looking for when you're inspecting a board?
Yeah, what should I be looking for?
The primary factors are going to be the number and size of knots,
Okay.
the presence of splits, or checks the amount of wane, and the overall straightness and uniformity of the grain.
Okay.
So knots, for example.
Yeah.
Those are natural imperfections in the wood where branches grew out from the tree trunk,
Okay.
and they can actually weaken the wood and make it more prone to splitting. So you'll need to assess their size, their location, and their soundness.
So like a small tight knot might not be a big deal,
Right,
but a large loose knot could really impact the grade.
exactly. You'll also be looking for splits and checks,
Uh-huh.
which are those lengthwise cracks in the wood,
Okay,
and those can also affect its strength and stability.
got it.
And then there's wane,
Wane.
which is the bark or the absence of wood on the edge or corner of a board.
Okay.
And too much wane can reduce the usable area of that board and lower its grade.
So it sounds like a lumber grader really needs a keen eye for detail
Yes,
and the ability to kind of make judgments based on all these different factors.
you got it. It's not just about finding those imperfections. It's understanding how those imperfections might affect the lumber's performance in its intended application.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So RoleCatcher also mentioned that a lumber grader needs a strong knowledge of different lumber species.
Oh, yeah.
Why is that so important?
So different species of wood have unique characteristics that affect their strength, their durability, their workability, and of course, their appearance.
Right.
So hardwoods, for example, like oak, maple, and cherry,
Right?
they tend to be denser and harder than softwoods like pine fir and cedar.
Okay.
So this means they have different uses and will be graded differently.
So a board meant for framing a house might have different grading criteria than a board that's meant for making furniture.
Exactly.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, a lumber grader needs to be able to identify those different species by their grain patterns, their color variations, even their scent.
Really?
It's like being a wood detective.
I love that.
I think that's a great way to think about it.
And I can see how that could be really helpful in an interview setting.
Oh, absolutely.
If you can demonstrate that you can identify these different species
Yeah.
and explain how their characteristics affect their grading, it shows a deeper level of knowledge.
It shows expertise.
Yeah.
It shows that you understand the nuances of wood and how to assess its quality for all those different applications.
Okay, cool. Now let's talk about another important aspect of modern lumber grading,
Okay.
sustainability. RoleCatcher mentioned that consumers are becoming more eco-conscious.
They are,
They want to know where their wood comes from.
for sure.
How does that impact a lumber grader's role?
So it's becoming increasingly important for lumber graders to be aware of those sustainable forestry practices and
Yeah.
those certification programs.
Like what kind of programs?
So consumers are demanding wood products that come from responsibly managed forests, right?
Yeah.
And certification programs like the Forest Stewardship Council, or FSC, are really helping to ensure that wood is harvested in a way that protects the environment.
So a lumber grader might be inspecting lumber to make sure that it meets certain sustainability standards.
Exactly.
Wow.
You might be checking for those FSC certification stamps.
Okay,
Or verifying that the wood came from a sustainably managed forest.
got it.
And this knowledge can be a valuable asset in an interview,
Oh, for sure.
especially if the company really emphasizes sustainability,
Right.
which many do now.
So it sounds like lumber graders are becoming more like guardians of the forest,
I like
ensuring that the wood we use comes from responsible sources.
I love that analogy. And as we face climate change resource scarcity,
Yeah.
this role becomes even more crucial.
Okay, so let's switch gears just a little bit and
Right,
talk
yeah.
about another really important aspect of the job safety.
Yes.
RoleCatcher's Career Guide really stresses that lumber graders work in potentially hazardous environments.
Absolutely.
And that makes sense. Sawmills, lumber yards full of heavy machinery, sharp tools, stacks of lumber that could shift or collapse.
For sure.
So it's really important to be prepared for these potential hazards.
Absolutely.
Especially when going into an interview.
Yes.
So when you're talking about safety in an interview, highlight that knowledge of safety procedures, your attention to detail,
Yes.
and that proactive approach to preventing hazards.
Love that.
What are some of those essential safety practices that every lumber grader should know?
Okay, so always wear your hard hat,
Okay.
safety glasses, steel-toed boots. Be aware of the movement of machinery. Never stand in the path of a forklift or other heavy equipment. Use proper lifting techniques to avoid those back injuries.
Yeah.
And never work alone in a hazardous area.
Okay.
If you can demonstrate that you prioritize safety,
Yeah.
it shows the interviewer that you're responsible and that you will take steps to protect yourself and others on that job site.
Sounds like a lot to keep in mind, but it's all in a day's work for a lumber grader.
It is.
Okay, so we've covered the tools, the grading system, the different types of wood, the importance of sustainability,
Yeah.
that crucial role of safety.
We did.
What's next?
So we've explored the present,
Right.
but now let's look towards the future.
Okay, I like it.
In the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore how technology is shaping lumber grading,
Ooh,
the emerging challenges and opportunities,
I'm excited.
and what it means for you, our listener, as you embark on this really exciting career path.
Okay, so we've made it to the final part of our deep dive.
I know it's gone by so fast.
I know, right? We journeyed through the interview prep,
Yeah,
explored the day-to-day of a lumber grader.
we did.
But now,
Future.
let's turn our attention to the future.
Yes.
How is technology changing this age-old profession?
That's such a good question. And what's really fascinating is the rise of automation and these computer vision systems.
Oh, wow.
So imagine scanners that can rapidly assess lumber for defects or even predict the strength and stability of a plank just based on its grain pattern.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So does this mean lumber graders are going to be replaced by robots?
Oh.
I'm picturing a futuristic sawmill with robotic arms just sorting lumber at lightning speed.
That is a question a lot of industries are grappling with, right?
Yeah.
While technology is definitely changing the landscape, the human eye and that expertise are still incredibly valuable.
Okay.
So I think of it more as a collaboration.
Okay.
Technology can handle those repetitive, high-volume tasks.
Right. Freeing up the lumber graders to really focus on those more complex grading decisions, quality control problem solving.
So it's more like technology is this powerful tool
Yes.
that's enhancing a lumber grader's capabilities
Right.
rather than replacing them altogether.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you know what this actually does is create some pretty exciting opportunities for aspiring lumber graders.
Really?
Yeah, because now they can become specialists in areas like identifying unique wood species, assessing those really intricate grain patterns,
Sure.
or ensuring compliance with those sustainability standards we were talking about.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And RoleCatcher's Career Guide actually mentioned that the demand for skilled lumber graders is expected to remain steady,
It is.
even with all of these technological advancements.
It's great news for anybody who wants to get into this field.
That is good news.
Yeah, it's reassuring to know that this profession has a strong future. As long as we keep building with wood, we're going to need those experts who understand its nuances and can ensure its quality.
Absolutely.
And those who can combine that traditional knowledge with those new tech skills are going to be in high demand.
It seems like a really winning combination for anyone entering this field.
Absolutely.
Okay, so beyond technology,
Yeah.
what other big challenges or opportunities are kind of on the horizon for lumber graders?
Well, one significant trend is that growing focus on sustainable forestry practices.
Okay.
We talked about it a bit, but consumers are becoming more and more eco-conscious. They
Wow.
want to know where their wood's coming from, how it was harvested.
Right. So lumber graders are really playing a key role in ensuring that the wood we use is sourced responsibly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They might be verifying those certifications from the Forest Stewardship Council, inspecting for that sustainably harvested lumber, or even working with suppliers to actually improve their forestry practices. It's a critical role that really contributes to the health of our forests and the long-term sustainability of this industry.
It's really inspiring to think that lumber graders aren't just assessing wood.
Right.
They're becoming stewards of the environment.
They are. Yeah, absolutely. And as we face, climate change and resource scarcity,
Mm-hmm.
this role becomes even more vital.
Okay, so to wrap things up,
Yeah.
what does all of this mean for you, our
Yes.
listener, who's preparing for that lumber grader interview?
I would say, first and foremost, it means that you're entering a field that's both grounded in tradition and on the cusp of these exciting changes.
I love that.
Right. Highlight your passion for wood, your meticulous nature,
Hmm.
your problem-solving skills, and your willingness to really embrace those new technologies.
And don't forget about all those interview questions that we discussed.
Oh, yeah.
They really provide a framework for understanding those core skills
Yeah,
and the mindset of a successful lumber grader.
for sure.
Whether you're talking about safety procedures or grading standards, or your approach to handling challenging situations, those insights are really going to help you shine in your interview.
Yes, and here's a final thought to ponder.
Okay.
As technology advances, as the industry evolves, what unique skills or perspectives can you bring to the role of a lumber grader?
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. What sets you apart? Think about your strengths, your interests, and your vision for the future of this dynamic field.
And remember, RoleCatcher is there every step of the way with their amazing resources, their AI support, and their career guidance.
Absolutely.
Best of luck in your interview.
You got this.
And we'll be back next time on The Deep Dive to explore another fascinating career journey.
See that?